Well, hello. So let's talk a little bit about hobbies, and specifically, let's talk about photography. Come on a walk with me. So let's talk about photography. I'm out here on a hike today, and I've been inspired. I've been inspired by specifically two YouTubers. One of them is Nigel Danson, and I'll go ahead and overlay his channel now. The other one is James Popsis, and I will go ahead and overlay his channel now. So what inspired me to come out and do this? Well, them. Their styles of photography are differing from each other's, but not so much so that they're two completely different photographers. But either way, they both visit some amazing, beautiful places, and they do so with hiking. And I really like that style, so I figured I'd try it out. Let's get a little further on down the trail. We've got 4 total miles to hike today, and I'm just under 1 in. So let's get a little further down the trail and I'll talk at you some more. Oh, you know what? Let's do bracketing. Let's do bracketing. Let's get a little bit closer and a little bit lower. I don't know how that's going to show up. Didn't feel like it did. Oops. Got some beautiful wild flowers here. Problem is I've got this really harsh light, obviously it being so high in the sky and all, and so as a result, not really getting the where's that layer? It is. Oops, didn't let it do it. Oh, look at the trail now. All grown in. I'm sure there's spiders and everything in here. I don't do spiders. I don't like them. Obviously, at one point, the trail went on this side of the tree. The tree is now uprooted, and the trail goes on that side of the tree. Interesting. Oh, that's got a really pretty view way off. I don't know if that's getting picked up, but in any case, ooh man, this lighting is harsh. So harsh. It's taking 3 pictures because I'm doing something called exposure bracketing. So basically I get it to where I've got my aperture priority set. So I wanted it 5.6. I could actually even go lower here if I wanted to. I can go 3.5. But what it's doing is it's going to take a series of 3 pictures. So it took the one that I exposed, or that it exposed, it took one slightly darker and slightly brighter. And that way I get to pick. All right, I think that's enough of this big guy. It's not very interesting on photograph, but it is kind of interesting in person. Let's keep moving. Make sure people know where you are. Make sure people know where you're going, what you're wearing, when you plan to be back, all that kind of stuff, right? An itinerary of sorts. That way, in case something does happen, they know what you look like, they know what you're wearing, they know where roughly you were headed, and kind of the paths you were going to take to get there. And then it doesn't hurt to have technology on your side, something like a Garmin InReach or other GPS beacon, let's call it, like the SOS, hey, I need help. And then there's other things that I use, which I'll show you here in a little bit. Talk about reading a map, just very rudimentary, real quick. With a compass and a map, paper map, you can kind of get a rough idea as long as the map is good enough as to where you are. So I've got a Garmin watch on, which is telling me right now I'm traveling 341 north, right? As I turn, you can kind of see that change. So basically I'm heading due north. If I look at my paper here, due north is this way, and I know that I've taken a hard left and a hard right, and I'm heading basically due north. This little bit of trail right here, so I know eventually I should come to a hard switchback left, and yes, Morrow Mountain State Park is where I am today. So this hard left should be coming up somewhere down there, but as I look at the trail, I can see the trail goes left and then a little sharp right. So if I look, it goes left and then a little sharp right. So I know if I go to the scale, I'm probably only maybe 1/10 of a mile away from my turn. So little stuff like that. And then if I know my pace, how fast I'm walking, I could say, okay, if I'm traveling at an average of 2 miles an hour and the turn is about 1/10 of a mile away, if I know I can go 2 miles in an hour, that's 1 mile every half hour, and a half hour is 30 minutes. So 30 minutes to go 1 mile. I know 1/10 of a mile will take me 1/10 of that time, or about 3 minutes, thereabouts, of course. So yeah, that's just real quick how to read a paper map. Little things like that can help you out tremendously. Let's keep moving. All right, well, I've parked myself here for a break. I'll kind of show you what I'm using to make sure that, God forbid, if something happens to me out here, somebody knows. First and foremost, paper map. Why am I using a paper map and not something like my phone? 2 very important reasons. 1, service is not guaranteed, especially out here where I am. And 2, it preserves the battery life of my phone. If I'm not constantly looking at it to look at the map or to check this or to check that, it gives me the opportunity to prolong the battery life, which, I mean, maybe that extra 5% of battery that I use or 10% of the battery that I use would make the difference between being rescued and being recovered. God forbid something happens. That matters. Second thing I'm using is my Garmin watch, which I use to do what's called a live track, and that is emailed to an email list that I specify, and that gives those people access to view it in real time, but also in arrears. So if I stop the activity, they can still see it, they just see activity is completed. So that makes life a little bit better, a little bit more, I don't know, reassuring for me as the person out here doing the thing, but also for the people that care about me, i.e. the people on that email list. So yeah, those are the two things. Well, I say the two things: paper maps to preserve phone life, Garmin to track my hike in this case, or motorcycle ride, or whatever it might be. And then also I have this, which is an amateur radio, a ham radio. And this one is a Yaesu, but it really doesn't matter, except to say that it does something called APRS. And long story short, APRS is a way to track if I want it to do that. And so I've got it set up that way. So now, again, the people who care about me, who I care about, they have the ability to go to a website and track me on my hikes. So those are the two things that I use to keep safe while I'm out here, in addition to telling people, making it known, number one, where I am, in this case, Morrow Mountain State Park. Number two, what trail I'm on, in this case, the Fall Mountain Trail, Fall Mountain Loop Trail. And then which direction I was headed to, because it makes a difference. If I'm going on a loop or even a through hike, it makes a difference whether I started at the north and went south or started at the south and went north, because I say, oh, I'm a mile in. Well, if you're a mile into a 10-mile trail, but they don't know which way you went, they're going to potentially be on the wrong side. They get a 50-50 shot. So yeah, where I am, what trail I'm going to do, which direction I'm going to do it in, tracking with my watch, tracking with my radio. And that's how I stay safe. But sitting here taking a break, grabbing some water. I strongly recommend a hydration pack of some kind, doesn't really matter what kind, but also know that in a lot of cases you get what you pay for. So I think that's about it for right now. Still haven't shown you the camera gear, except to say that I'm wearing one, and you can see that it's a Nikon, which I maybe have mentioned that before, I don't remember. But yeah, I'm gonna keep going. I am, according to my watch, 2.2 in, but of course with filming I've had to walk some extra steps. And yeah, I think I'm probably about 2 miles in. It's a 4.1 mile hike, so I'm not quite halfway, but I'm almost there. Let's keep going, and I will talk to you, I think, again when I get to the top. Then I'll go in the bag and I'll show you what I've got in the bag from a camera gear standpoint, and also just some general stuff, which I'm not carrying as much as I would like, or as much as I normally would if it were more than just me. But yeah, I'll show you what I've got. I guess I gotta keep moving. Here we go. Okay, so let's talk about what I'm carrying on the hike today. And we don't have to get specific to camera gear, but that's kind of gonna be the focus. So realistically, I've got a couple of Cliff Bars. I got a can of Pringles because I can't help myself. I also have a short sleeve t-shirt. That is a poly cotton blend. So it's not 100% cotton, it is a blend. I prefer the cotton for breathability, but I prefer the blend, the polyester, for moisture wicking and stuff like that. So I've got some food, and I've got a change of shirt. On a shorter hike like this, I wasn't gonna bring a change of footwear. On a longer hike, I would, especially just like a pair of sandals that I can, or flip-flops that I could throw in here and then just walk around with. For camera equipment, I'm recording on a GoPro. I've got my wireless mic set up, which I've used in the past, and the receiver's on top of the GoPro. The mount it's on, I'll show you. I bought it for my motorcycle helmet, but this thing works great. Clips onto the backpack strap, all that. I have this, I think it's a Manfrotto little mini tripod thing. I really like this one because you just push this button and you can angle it. It's not like you have to unscrew a thing, reposition, screw it, tighten. You push the button, it rotates wherever you want. You let go of button and it stays. And then I've got an old GoPro branded selfie stick, which is also a tripod. Has this little bottom piece unscrews and turns into a tripod, which then you can screw back in. So that's kind of neat. I brought it, figured it didn't hurt. I had the space for it, so I brought it. And now let's get into some camera gear specifically. So before we get into camera gear, I'm carrying a flashlight, a pocket knife, and a metal pen, or metal pen housing, i.e. a twist open. Carry those in the backpack. I'm not gonna leave them in my pockets just because I don't feel like having stuff in my pockets for the hike. But what you see on me, of course, is the microphone, which, sorry for that. The microphone, the radio, the camera, and the GoPro. And then for camera, I have, this is new. This is a Nikon D5500. I don't know if you can see that up here. Nikon D5500, made in 2015, and I just bought it a month ago. I've had it about a month at this point. And then the other things that I have are a set of filters for it, which are these here by Neewer. Neewer. They're filters, ND8, ND4, ND16, and a polarizer. I have spare batteries for the GoPro, spare batteries for the Nikon. Freaking squirrels are throwing nuts out of the trees, and it just keeps crashing behind me. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear it. All right, I also have a Nikon 35mm f1.8 lens. That's new too. The reason I bought this one is because I wanted to do more like portrait style photography. So for people or for up close of wildlife, so think flowers, I guess that'd be foliage, not wildlife, but flowers, birds, things like that. I figured I could use a lens with a low aperture number or more open aperture. And then in the kit with the camera that I originally bought, which was the Nikon D3300. So this was the camera that I originally bought, and I still really like this camera. There are very subtle differences between the 55 and the 33. 3300 was January of 14, the 55 was January of 15. It's basically the same camera, 24 megapixels, right? So not the most powerful by today's standards, but still plenty powerful, especially by the standards of something like your phone. Like my phone I'm using is a Samsung Note 20, and it will do a 108 megapixel photo if you have all the settings right and you choose the 108 megapixel setting. I never use that because I'm just here snapping pictures. So it's actually, I think, like a 10 or a 12 meg, or 10 or 12 megapixel phone in standard modes, and these are 24, so better. But also in that kit that I bought with the 3300 came the 18 to 55, that is on this one now, as well as the, what is this one, a 55 to 200 lens. So what do they do? 18 to 55, general photography. You could do some portrait style stuff with it, taking pictures of people. You could do some wildlife stuff. I guess a lot of landscape photographers, or not wildlife, I'm sorry. You're not using an 18 to 55 on wildlife, so I hear. You want something with a little more zoom. But landscape, that's the word I was looking for. Landscape photographers tend to use something like a 24 to 70 or a 24 to 200, somewhere in that range, to try to get a little bit of everything. And so 18 to 55 is good for more close-up stuff. If you want to get a little bit further away, take some pictures of something further away, you would get into your 55 to 200. So what are the numbers? 55 to 200, 18 to 55, or 35 mils? It's focal length. No idea what it means, to be honest with you. But when I rotate this out, right, there's 55 and there's 200. So I'm assuming it's the difference between the lens, the optical lens, and the sensor way down here. So sensor in the camera, there's 55 and there's 200. I don't know that to be true, but yeah. The bigger the number, the more zoom. So that's what I'm carrying in the bag today. Very simple. Like I said, can of Pringles, couple Cliff Bars, t-shirt, 3 lenses, 2 camera bodies to show you. I would not be carrying 2 camera bodies normally. I'd be carrying one. I'd be carrying the 5500 or the 3300. I wouldn't be taking both. I've got the GoPro. I've got my paper map, phone, keys, wallet, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm carrying in the bag. So now I'm gonna grab a shot of this, and I think I'm gonna do it with, yeah, I'm gonna do it with the 55 to 200. Yo. Guess we'll go down a little bit further to take this picture. Yeah, that's the shot that I'm looking for right there. Kind of between these two trees, way off into the distance. I'll shoot it on live view so I can see it. And that's the benefit of this screen. So I can twist it and angle it and do whatever I need to with it. All right, let's go. Yeah, aperture priority. I'm gonna shoot this at an f11 because I want more of it in focus. And still exposure bracketing, of course. And what's interesting I find with this 5500 versus that 3300 is it is far faster to focus. I don't know why, but it is. God, that's a really pretty one. Ooh, you know what I can do? I'll get a shot of my whole setup right here. So here's the downside. I like to wear a hat. And for whatever reason, I'm right eye dominant. I don't even know if you can see me right now. Let me get a little closer. Okay. Ugh. So I'm right eye dominant, so you would think I would take pictures with the viewfinder over my right eye. I don't. I actually take pictures with the viewfinder over my left eye. I have no idea why. I just find it more comfortable. The downside to that, of course, I thought I sat on my phone for a second, is when I go portrait mode, I'll typically use my right eye as opposed to my left eye. You would think in portrait mode it would make more sense to use my left eye because then I can use both. I can see, leave both open and see what's going on and still see this, but I don't. I typically go, what do? I guess I do right eye, or I can leave them both open. So under normal mode, I'm here, and under portrait mode, I'm here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a picture of you guys so you see what I see. Ooh, it didn't like that. I know why. My F number is way too high. Let's go as low as it'll go. Yeah, I had my aperture way too closed off. That sounds better. All right, really pretty place. But time to move on. Also, what's kind of cool before I move on, you can see obviously they do control burns here. They do them about every 3 years, 2-3 years. You can see the charring. That's not from a wildfire. That's actually a controlled burn that they do to prevent the devastation that comes with a wildfire. So, all right, let's get out of here. All right, so as I continue to walk here, I'll tell you one more thing. We talk about being safe in wilderness or just in life. Do all the things we talked about. Let people know where you are, have a plan, let people know what you're wearing, where you're going, which direction you plan on traveling. Do some sort of live track feature, have satellite options available to you, little things like that. But also consider if your state allows for it, and obviously do your research on the parks you're traveling to. But if it's allowed, follow all the rules, consider bringing something to keep you safe from others while you're out there, whether it's people or wildlife or stuff like that. Bear spray, fantastic option. There are other more lethal options as well. Consider them. If you're going to be the person that's outside hiking all the time, strongly consider them, because the more you're out, the more likely you are to run into something. It's just statistics. So, all right, let me clip you back on because this hike is really pretty. Now I'm at the top. It is really pretty. Going back down. Yeah, it's nice and soft here too. No more rocks. Really important. All right, let's keep going. it's difficult for me to make, as I'm demonstrating, it is difficult for me to talk about one specific topic without tangentially going on to other points or other topics. So I apologize if that's not your style and if you came to only watch a video about photography. It's just who I am. I can't talk about one thing without also talking about some other things. So yes, if you enjoy photography, like I'm learning to do, you may want to find yourself on a hike to take pictures of some pretty things. But don't end up the city slicker, lost on in this case, a 4-mile loop trail, because you failed to do a paper map, and they end up going from a rescue to a recovery simply because you didn't tell anybody where you were going. Have fun with photography. Have fun with everything that you do, all of your hobbies, all of your interests, but be safe doing them, right? Be smart. Take managed risks. I'm not saying don't take risks. I'm saying take managed risks, right? I ride a motorcycle. That in and of itself is a risk, but I've taken training. I am constantly striving to improve my abilities, right? So I'm trying to mitigate that risk as much as I can. This is a nice little steep drop off down here. Sweet. All right, putting you back in the backpack, and I'm gonna keep hiking since apparently we're almost out. Okay, yes, here's the marker on the tree. Again, don't get lost, right? Find your marker on the tree. Keep going. All right, back on my backpack, you. There we go. Let's keep moving. So I figure this is as good a spot as any to stop for a second, take a rest, grab a drink of water, and talk to you guys. Hopefully, you found it entertaining. I don't think you learned a lot, except maybe how to stay safe, hopefully, on a hike. I'm just glad to be out, having fun, trying something new and exploring hobbies. Yeah, it's kind of fun. So with that, here's what I'll say. I'm gonna cut now because I'm 3.9 miles into a 4.1 mile hike, almost back. So let's cut and let's go to me in the studio, future Toby, talking to you to kind of wrap everything up and put a bow on it. So yeah, with that, back to the studio. And just like that, we're back in the studio. I had a lot of fun making that video, and I know it's a little bit longer, but if you've made it this far, thank you so much for sticking with me. I plan to do more adventures in the future, and I'll definitely take you along with me. So to close this out, I'm actually going to send it back to the field where I finish up the hike and make it back to the car in the car park. So enjoy, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you on the next video. Now we enter what is probably my favorite part of the hike. Is this little stretch right here. Yeah, it's next to the road, but this greenery, this lush greenery just looks so damn good. It really does. With the little trail hidden in the middle of it. It just, I don't know, it just looks really good. I love this part of the hike. It's right next to the parking lot, right next to the road, but God, it's still so pretty.